Y'all can hear you?
Barry,
Can
say something.
anybody,
Yes, yes, we can
can
hear you.
anybody hear me? It's Barry.
Commissioner Berry, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay, good. Thank you. I'm gonna hang up the phone then and use the computer, I guess,
okay, and
because it's
Commissioner,
echoing.
I'll stay on the line.
okay. Go ahead, Barry, we're listening.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure I've hung up the phone because it's echoing. So I hung up the phone. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
it's on you. We are doing the update. You have any update?
Oh, my commissioner's update is that I recently learned about that there is construction starting in 2025 in my area of the Low Country, and actually in the Hardyville area, on a 160 unit facility that will accommodate people with disabilities. It's actually a community for people with disabilities. It's a very interesting concept they have going on, and it's going to, and construction starts in 2025, and it's going to house 172 people at completion, and it's going to be a 160 unit place. So it's a very interesting thing for those. It's almost like a private community for those with disabilities. So with emotional disabilities. So and so those that are interested in such a thing should look into it. It's called Osprey Village, or you can email me and I'll send you a link. But it's a very interesting thing that's been in the works for years, and it's going to start in 2025.
Thank you very, very much.
The only
Commissioner,
other thing I was going to say is relating to the bill, but we've now decided we're going to have an update on that later, so I don't need to say anything else. Thanks.
okay, Commissioner Coer. Nothing? Commissioner Wood.
I do. I have a couple announcements. First is, I think we're all aware of the March 5th South Carolina Disability Awareness Day. So that'll be at the State House steps. And I think it'll be a great event. We have the agenda. There's a lot of great speakers, and I know from previous experiences there's a lot of booths that you can go to and pick up a lot of great information all in one place. So I would encourage everyone to go if they can. And I'll be speaking, but I'm happy to report my daughter will also be taking the stage on the steps as well. So I'm excited. I read her speech and it sounds amazing. So I'm proud of her. Then I guess with that also, she, we talked earlier, she was accepted to University of Michigan for graduate school.
Let's give her a hand.
Yeah. She'll be continuing with adaptive sports, going for sports management, and a big participant of their adaptive sports program up there. She's going to be continuing playing tennis like she is at Clemson, and she will also be adding a wheelchair rugby because that school has a rugby team as well. So she's just going to learn a lot over the next 2 years up there, not only with the degree, but just being able to participate with their adaptive sports program to learn as much as she can and bring it back to South Carolina. And I think it will be exciting. So it'll be far away, so that won't be exciting. And then also, speaking, because I love my adaptive sports, Clemson University is hosting the Palmetto Games. It's been years that they've been hosting it. Also supported by Move United. That's an organization throughout the United States. They're participating in 45 states, and South Carolina is one of them. So it's for people with physical and intellectual disabilities. The Palmetto Games is April 18th and 19th, and they'll have track and field events, swimming events, and air rifle events. And the last day of registration is all the way till April 9th. So I think it's a great thing to have as many people involved as we can. It's a great day. And I think that's what I got. So that's it. Thanks.
Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
I don't have any comments other than on behalf of this commission, we just want to salute the executive staff and all of the employees of South Carolina Department of Disability and Special Needs for the state of South Carolina. You're doing a great job. Continue. Thumbs up. Can I get a hand?
Amen.
All right, where we are. We are public input. There is no public input today, so we'll move right along. Okay, commission committee business. Policy committee.
Sir, we have four articles to present. The first three are what I consider housekeeping. The other one's considered rubber stamping. So I'm going to ask Ms. Meadows to present that.
Hi, good to see you guys this morning. So we have four directives, well, actually 3 directives and 1 set of standards that we're asking for approval for. The first one is 50402DD, which is short-term admission to DDS and regional centers or community ICFIIDs. We're recommending that this directive become obsolete because we no longer classify people as short-term admission in those environments. We either classify them as regular admission or they are on respite. Either way, we kind of follow the regular admission standards. So we don't think there's a need for that directive.
I recommend we take all these three as a unit when she finishes.
Oh, you're just gonna, they do need a motion and a second because they're not coming out of committee. So I just want to say that. Okay. The second one is 53511DD, which is appeal and reconsideration of decisions. There were some changes made to this directive as a part of the OIG audit that we had. The changes are really to clarify language to ensure that timelines are consistent and that we define everything throughout. So those changes were made to 53511DD and we're asking for a recommendation for approval. Both of those, 50204, 53511, went out for public comment and we received no public comment. So you just have kind of the marked up version and the new version.
I have a comment about 511DD.
Okay.
And 53511DD. One
Okay.
is that on page I'm trying to think which page it is. On page 3, it says that one who has been determined by DDSN to meet the criteria for eligibility for DDSN services or by proxy of their legal guardian, and all the rest of these words in here are defined very well. And I think that the word proxy should be defined for those that don't know what that is exactly. And a lot of people that obviously apply for our disabilities, for our services, don't know a lot of words. And I think it'd be a positive thing to define the word proxy in there, but that's not the most important thing that I had, but that's one thing. But
So we added by proxy, and I don't recall if that addition was made by our legal staff or if it was made by DHHS's legal staff. I think I think if you're uncomfortable with the word, it already read one who has been determined by DDSN to meet the criteria for eligibility for DDSN services or by his or her legal guardian. I think the addition of by proxy was just to say somebody did it on their behalf.
right, I
but
just think
if we find that confusing, I don't have a problem taking it out.
well, I would think it would be better to take it out, but if we want to leave it, we just need to define it as what the word proxy means. Because the rest of the words are defined and that one's not. But I think we should take it out, but that's up to the commission. Because it's already says that, and I don't know why we would add that, but if some legal person in DHHS wants to add it, then we just need to define what the word proxy means, where we define the rest of the words.
Okay,
You'll deal with that and.
correct.
Legally, so we won't.
Just send me a copy of what's finalized, if you would, please. But the only other thing I wanted to add was, and I don't know if it says other HHS decisions under section C. I don't know if they're requiring us to put this in here or not. And if they are, then we have to leave it. But if they're not, we need to clarify it really bad, I think. At the end of that paragraph, it says reconciliation and SCDHHS appeal. The SCDHHS decision, if it's upheld, the participant or legal guardian may be required to pay back the cost. In other words, if somebody is, as far as I understand it, if somebody has appealed their decision and it gets the appeal gets upheld, then they can continue services until we decide whether their appeal is upheld or not. But it doesn't need to say that they may pay the money back. We either need to say they have to pay the money back or they don't have to pay the money back if they're if it's upheld that they should not have received services. And I think they should have to pay it back if it is determined they should not have received services, because we wouldn't have denied them unless there was a reason to. And if we do our job right, I don't think anybody will be successful, or very few will be successful on appeals anyway.
So this language is directly from the Health and Human Services appeal logs. The decision ultimately is HHS's, not DDSN's. And the decision about whether or not it's paid back is HHS's, not DDSN's, right? So they.
Well, I didn't know that, okay.
And they have it written as may because they make decisions, they make individual decisions about whether or not it should have to be paid. Let me explain the whole stay thing first, though, because I want to make sure that you understand that just because you appeal does not mean that you continue to get services. There is an authority where a person can request a stay of services, which means I don't think you're right and I want to continue to get what I'm getting. They have to do that within 10 days of the adverse decision. Most people do not request a stay of services, because when they request the stay of services, they are told you can request this, but you could have to pay it back if the decision is upheld. So I say all those words to say we get a lot of reconsiderations and appeals. We don't get a lot of requests for stays.
Do we make the decision whether the decision is upheld, or does DHHS?
Ultimately, DHHS does. So it goes through reconsideration first. We make we reconsider the decision that DDSN has made as the operating agency of the waivers. We say upheld or reverse. Sometimes we reverse decisions, it never goes to HHS. If we uphold the decision, we provide the person their right to appeal directly to DHHS. If they appeal directly to DHHS, we are an informant as part of it, but the ultimate decision is made by the hearing officer. So it's not really made by any person at HHS that we work with. It's made by a hearing officer after a hearing is held.
Okay, the only other thing I wanted to say is I apologize for not being there. I thought the weather was going to be worse than it was because of the weather advisory possibility in Columbia. And I sincerely apologize for the difficulties that y'all are having. And if y'all are having any problems hearing me or anything like that, I'm very sorry that I'm not there. I certainly could have been, but I did not know it as of yesterday. Thanks.
You're fine.
And that's all I got.
Okay.
I do want to go back to the by proxy thing. That's a new add just in that clause.
Yep.
But it's stated several times within the definitions of other places and
So it
other
probably just
applicant,
added.
and it was just added to be consistent with the other sentences that were already there.
Do you think it defines the word proxy in there?
It doesn't define it, but Barry, it's already listed on applicant A, and it's already listed on service recipient B. It's just to be consistent in the language, where it's defining the determination.
Right.
Okay, I just think it needs to be defined, but okay,
All right, go ahead.
because I know what I'm doing.
Okay, so do we want to deal with this one separately than the others? Or do we want to just deal with all four of them at the same time? Because it sounds like with this one, we have a couple of decisions to make about changes. I will say, I don't recommend changing anything related to the other DHHS decisions because that's their language, right? So I, as a staff, would not recommend doing that at all. If the commission would like, although y'all can, right, you can do what you want, I just wouldn't do it. For the by proxy, if you want me to add a definition about what by proxy means, I can do that. Or I can take it out everywhere, or just leave it as is. And that's a decision for y'all to make.
Well, I would make a motion that we define the word proxy in that document.
You don't have any problem giving me some language for that, right?
I can give you some.
We'll add a statement somewhere in here that talks about what by proxy means, if that's.
That's right.
Okay?
Good. We're good with that.
Thank you.
All right, and the next directive is 611 DD, which is physical management. We're recommending that this directive also become obsolete because it's really a procedural document and each center has their own procedures for how they deal with this stuff. So we just want to make the overall directive obsolete. Again, this went out for public comment and no comments were received.
I would like to make a motion that we accept the changes for the first three and vote on those.
Can I get a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it, so ordered.
The first three are approved. So the last one is a new set of service standards. As a reminder, service standards are written to inform providers about how they deliver services within the DDSN contracted network, right? So this is a brand new set of service standards because it is a brand new service that has recently been approved in the IDRD waiver only, okay? The service is to provide a support system to unpaid caregivers who are caring for people in their homes with challenging behaviors. In order to access the service, the person has to need behavior support because it is a part of the behavior support service, but they do not have to be receiving behavior support alongside it. As you know, we kind of have a provider access issue around behavior support, and DHHS is currently working at revamping that entire service. So this is kind of an alternative service. Again, it's a service that's not provided directly to the person, but provided to the family who is providing care to them. The workflow that independent living skills did, right? This is a first step of getting the standards approved. Once the standards are approved, we will set up a qualification process for the providers. Like right now, there are no providers, qualified providers of this service in South Carolina, although this service does exist in other states, and it was modeled after that. So the next step will be providers applying to be service providers, and then we will open it up to IDRD waiver participants who are assessed to need the service. It did go out for public comment. There were a few comments. We responded to all of them. You guys have that in your packet. So we are recommending approval as written.
I make a motion that we approve it as written.
Motion is on the floor. Do I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it, so ordered. And I see we have Mike Adams here from Careford. How are you?
Well, sir.
You-
Thank you.
You want to say anything, or you want to stay where you are? You want to hold the hand you have?
If you don't mind, I'd love to just kind of share a few comments, if that's okay.
Go ahead.
Good morning, Commission. My name is Mike Adams. I'm actually a proud resident of Columbia, South Carolina, and also I work for CareForth. We are a Medicaid provider, which, as Lori mentioned, have been providing caregiver support services for for almost 10,000 individuals across the states. And so we're proud to be able to work with DDSN as well as DHHS in helping to model this service to actually support citizens in South Carolina, including many in my family as well as in your family that are dealing with challenging behavior. So again, I just want to really just recognize the support and the collaboration that we've had with DDSN and DHHS to this point. And we look forward to being one of the providers of this, hopefully, a healthy network in the near future. So again, thank you all so much for your consideration.
Thank you. And I see a long-time friend that I've known for years. His name is Caden Dawson.
Sure.
How are you?
I'm good, Ed, I'm good.
It's been a while.
I certainly appreciate it. This was a year and a half for us to get here. Not anything to do with DSN, but just the whole system, as everybody knows, is so god-awful slow, Ed. Especially as we've got all these people out here after the pandemic that are looking for help. This is one I was glad to be a registered lobbyist for, and have registered for the appeals process, lobbied CMS to get us to where we are today. And it's a program that certainly South Carolina can wrap their arms around, because we do take care of our own people. Best we can. What I told Ed earlier was, I also represent Centene Corp., which provides Medicaid to a couple of 100,000 people here. And it's amazing, it is amazing, as y'all all know, how people create help for their loved ones. Whether we're helping them or not, the resiliency of South Carolinians is amazing. This is just a small part of what we can do to help people who are at home, who need services, and who have families. And it's wonderful to be a part of it. And thank you for recognizing me, Ed. I appreciate it. Appreciate our relationship.
Appreciate you, my friend.
Yes, sir.
All right, we are at old business number 10, quarterly incident report. Ms. Dalton, how are you?
Well, thank you.
You look well.
Good morning. So I'm sharing the quarterly report for fiscal year 25, second quarter ending December 31st, 2024. This information can be located on page 40 and 41 in your packet. So the reporting rates for allegations of abuse, neglect, and exploitation remained steady throughout the first half of fiscal year 25. When we annualize the number of reports that we have received thus far, they're currently about 20% lower than where we were at this time during fiscal year 24. So that's a good thing, but we always look at that very cautiously because there's lots of factors there. The numbers are where we would expect them to be when we look at the 5-year averages as well. And I always caution anyone when I get this report that, allegations are indicators that people know how to report, and we want people to report any suspected allegations of exploitation. When we look at the actual rates of substantiated cases, they are very low, as we would expect. And we, of course, monitor the allegations that have administrative findings related to standard of care issues and monitor the provider's corrective action plans as they are addressing those administrative findings. For critical incidents, there have been 584 critical incidents reported to date or through the end of December. This puts us on track with where we were again in 2024. We have noticed a decrease in the number of law enforcement calls, but we have noticed that there has been an increase in suicidal threats. Not that the participants are taking actions, they are simply threats, typically associated with their through behavior support plans to address that. So we also have 30 deaths that have been reported in fiscal year 25 in our community-based residential settings. The cause of death has been pretty evenly divided among cardiac-related issues, respiratory distress, cancer, or other terminal illnesses. As mentioned in prior quarterly reports, DDSN continues to work with Intellectability to develop online training courses related to abuse prevention and reporting allegations of A&E. The training will include periodic knowledge checks and testing within the curriculum. We have also partnered with Intellectability to make free training available to our providers that address the Fatal Five. This includes training on the prevention and treatment of individuals at risk for aspiration, dehydration, dysphagia, bowel obstruction, seizures, and sepsis. Any questions? Thank you.
Ms. Avery, how are you?
Doing well, how are you?
You got good health too as well?
Thank you. All right. So the information that I'll be sharing is the quarterly incident management report for the regional centers for the second quarter of fiscal year 2025. And it too is current as of December 31st, 2024. In the second quarter, the regional centers had 38 individual A&E allegations, 29 A&E incident reports. One report, as you know, may involve multiple allegations. We've had 0 criminal arrests this far, 1 standard of care finding. In the critical incidents, there were 43 critical incidents in quarter 2, with 3 being choking events, 2 law enforcement calls, 3 suicidal threats, and 1 emergency restraint. The regional center also has 7 reported deaths, and they too came from underlying health conditions, natural causes, or terminal illnesses. Any questions for me? Thank you.
Moving right along. Ms. Priest, how are you?
Doing well, thank you. I was asked to give an update on the home and community-based settings regulation. For a little framework, the home and community-based settings regulation is a federal regulation around Medicaid and where Medicaid home and community-based waiver services are delivered. So the setting in which those services are delivered. For a little framework, this regulation actually went into effect in 2014, and states were given a very long on-ramp or transition period to bring settings into compliance. I think the original on-ramp was probably about 5 years. It crossed over administrations, so it moved from the Obama administration to the first Trump administration, and an additional year was added. And then before it was resolved, there was COVID, so additional time was added. So the really long on-ramp for states to come into compliance with this regulation. One of the things that the regulation kind of said whenever it was introduced is that each state had to come up with a statewide transition plan. This is Medicaid, so the agency in charge of the statewide transition plan is not DDSN, it is DHHS, the state's Medicaid agency. So they were completely responsible for the creation of it. It does affect settings in which services in DDSN operated waivers are delivered. So we were involved in the development of the transition plan, but they were in charge of it. So the state had to submit a transition plan, which had to be approved. That was completed in 2020. After the statewide transition plan was approved, the state was busy implementing. For the settings regulation in South Carolina, the impact was on adult day healthcare settings, residential settings. So for DDSN, that's a CTH2, a CRCF, those kinds of settings, and DDSN operated or licensed day programs. So those were the impact or the settings that were impacted by this regulation. In January of 2023, as we were moving along in transitioning the state and implementing the settings regulation, Representatives from the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, CMS, were on site in South Carolina to do a review of a sample of providers in the state. So these were DDSN contracted providers, so disability and special needs boards and private providers. They went throughout the state. I think there were maybe 6 providers, and they did go the PD, the Low Country, the Upstate, and the Midlands. So they went to actually go into a setting, ask questions of staff, that sort of thing. So there was a team of, I think 3 people, maybe 4, that came in from around the country, stayed here for about 4 days and went to all these different settings. I accompanied them on the visit. Following that review, we were provided, the state was provided with the results of that review, and that was done in February. The state responded with a remediation plan for the findings that were identified. That was in April of 2023. In August of 2023, DHHS implemented a remediation plan, as a part of their implementation of their remediation plan following the January visit. Have I confused you yet? Because I got dates going everywhere. So in August, DHHS did on-site visits similar to what CMS had done the year prior, and they submitted reports of remediation. So I've said all of that to say, in December of 2024, there was one outstanding issue around leases. So the regulation says that people have to have a legally enforceable agreement so that they cannot be evicted. The state reviewed leases from providers, all of them, and we assured that leases in the state did comport with the South Carolina Residential Landlord-Tenant Act. But the Residential Landlord-Tenant Act does not require a statement that basically says, the Landlord-Tenant Act does not specifically say that your lease has to say that you're entitled to all protections and remedies afforded to tenants in South Carolina. So we've included that statement, and that is the last action that was taken. So that has been included in the documents, and providers are reporting to us that that action has taken place. Can I answer any questions?
Commissioners,
Mute.
we good?
If I could have just a minute of your time, just, for several years, DDSN, Tom McDaniel, who is an employee here at DDSN, reports to me, has been our director of facility operations. Tom is leaving us. He is retiring from his position. I just wanted to personally, in this public forum, thank Tom for his service. He's an amazing person, and we have certainly benefited from his expertise, and he will be greatly missed. If you don't know Tom, you missed out. And if you do know Tom, you were blessed for it. I've learned a lot from him, and will grieve his leaving for a very long time. So I used to like him until he resigned.
Thomas, stand up so everybody knows exactly who you are.
He's not here. He's not here. I don't even know if he's on. He's working. Right. He is working. I was trying to look to see if he was on. If he's not, I'll call him later and tell him I talked about him in public so he can watch the replay. But he's an amazing guy, and he's one of those people that never whines and never complains. He just moves forward. So I think most people that know him around here will greatly miss him. So thanks, Tom, for your service. And thank you.
Let's give him one. Barry, you want to say something?
Yeah, I was trying to say, I'm sorry, I was on mute. See, I don't like this system. I was trying to ask her one question about compliance. I'm sorry.
You still here?
I was just gonna ask, since you did that, since we did that, I'm glad I heard about the revision, in December of 24. So does that mean that we are 100% compliant as of today?
That would be, I have asked that question. I don't think that CMS has responded to the latest submission by the HHS. So CMS is the person that is the agency, the entity that gets to say, yes, you're compliant, or no, you aren't.
Okay, so,
HHS has submitted our actions to CMS. There has been an administration change, and there's a lot happening on a federal level. So it is the time frame with which we will get a response to that submission, which I understand was made in January. I think that's right. The time frame by which we should get a response from CMS is unknown. If you're asking me, I think we're compliant, yes, I do.
okay, but did we make the submission, or did somebody else? Did DDSN make this submission, or did somebody else make it in January?
No, this is it. The Department of Health and Human Services, the state Medicaid agency, is the one that communicates with CMS. DDSN does not. So as a state Medicaid agency, they are the ones making the submission to CMS, and CMS talks to DHHS.
Okay. Well, it would just be interesting if we could ask them, if we were in compliant or not, but I mean, I guess we'll know someday. Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda, Ms. Crosby.
Good morning. So our first quarterly implementation progress report on the Regional Center renovation plan was submitted to the Joint Bond Review Committee in advance of their January 29th meeting. So during that meeting, the report was received as information, and there were no questions for the agency. In January, we reported that design work was underway at 2 Coastal Center dorms, Highlands 110 and Hillside 620. So there are 3 design phase milestones. We've reached the first 2 for these 2 dormitories. So the design work for these buildings is approximately 66% complete, and we're still on track for a spring groundbreaking at Coastal. In January, we also reported that proposals for architect engineering services had been received for all remaining priority 1 and 2 buildings at 5 regional centers. Those priorities 1 and 2 are our residential and program areas. The agency has been reviewing those proposals and negotiating contract terms, and contracts are now in place for design services at all priority 1 and 2 buildings on the Coastal campus. Additionally, we have received general contractor proposals for PD Regional Center and Witten Center, which are currently under review. The JBRC has established the expectation of quarterly progress reporting, with our next report due for the quarter ending March 31st, 2025. So any questions on the renovation plan?
Now, everybody notice this is not State Director Holloway. She's in Florence, South Carolina today, so that's why she's not here. And thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
All right. Next item on the agenda, legislative update.
So Carol is attending the Senate Medical Affairs meeting this morning, so I will deliver her comments. So the House Ways and Means Committee completed their work on the budget yesterday. DDSN received a total of $6 million. 1.5 of that goes to Greenwood Genetics Center. The remaining $4.5 million is for residential services, with $1 million in recurring funds and $3.5 non-recurring. The budget will be debated on the House floor the week of March 10th. The Healthcare Agency's restructuring bill, S2, is being taken up this morning in Senate Medical Affairs Committee, and we will have more information on the possible committee vote later today. So Commissioner Thomas, I have already reached out to Carol to let her know that you had some questions about the bills, and she is going to reach out to you at the conclusion of today's meetings.
I think it would be good if Carol would send to the commissioners just a brief little, here's what the new bill does from out of the subcommittee. I presume it's going to come out of subcommittee or they wouldn't be meeting on it probably. So that everybody can have an update. I don't like it going through me second as a filter. We might not get as accurate a picture as Carol could give us. So if I could ask you to have Carol just send the commissioners just an update, on the bill, what it does. And they should have an executive summary anyway on what the thing is. She could just use that if she wanted to.
I'll certainly follow up with her.
It's all right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Always good. It's always good to have a state senator on the commission.
I don't know.
Ms. Crosby?
It seemed to do us too much good.
Go ahead, Barry.
Thank you. I'm sorry to interrupt. I didn't mean to interrupt. I'm sorry. It's hard with this computer, and I'm really sorry again that I had to do this today, or chose to do this today. But the only thing I would ask is based on what Mr. Thomas was talking about earlier. Do you have any comment on whether or not there is an advisory board in this bill? Ms. Crosby?
I don't, but I will ask Carol to include that in her update for you.
Thank you.
Okay.
As far as I know, there's not for the record here today, but I'd love to know from her for 100%.
Commissioner Thomas, anything else? Are you good?
I'm good. I'm fine.
Okay. New business. Tab 8, 2025 Autism Connect Conference.
Good morning.
Turn up.
Yes.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
If I complain, it's not going to change anything.
I'll listen anyways. It'll be fine. So I'm here to share the exciting news about our conference, Autism Connect 2025. We held our first conference last year. It blew away our expectations. We outgrew our building, so we got a bigger one for this year. This year, it's going to be held on April 2nd from 8 to 3 at the Brooklyn Banquet and Conference Center. We decided to keep it in Columbia because it's centrally located and we can have all our sister state agencies who want to participate come through that way. So this year's conference is a collaboration between us and USC's Center for Autism and Neurodevelopment. We intend to have a gathering dedicated to bring together individuals, families, and professionals in the autism community. Attendees can discover the latest research, innovative therapies, and support networks that can make a difference in the lives of those with autism. Attendees will connect with like-minded individuals, share experiences, and learn from experts in the field. We are going to have 21 unique presentations across 3 sessions throughout the day. We want to make sure there's a little bit of something for everybody. So sessions specifically for caregivers, self-advocates, professionals, educators. So we're going to have a mix of everything there. In the gym that's attached to the conference center is going to be our exhibitor hall, and that's where we're going to have 75 tables of exhibitors set up. So it's about connecting with each other, but also with the resources throughout the state. And so that was really helpful last year. It's a huge hall. The attendees go around to all the different tables and they can look a provider right in the eye and be like, I want to start with you. And they can make that real world connection, which is pretty exciting. So far, some of the DDSN providers who have registered include ARCO South Carolina, Bright Start, South Carolina Autism Society, Epworth, Tri Development, Aging with Flair, Student Solutions, and About Play. We would like to let everybody know we still have exhibitor tables available. So if anybody's listening and they contribute to our autism community, we would love to have them there. So even with the addition of several hundred more tickets than last year, we are sold out of our attendee tickets. We don't have another one more space. We are at building capacity. Registration was free for attendees, and we're also providing lunch for them. Parking's free this year as well. So it was such well received last year by the community, and even with a couple hundred more tickets, we sold out in 2 weeks, which is crazy.
Great news.
Yeah. Any questions? Thank you.
Mark that date. That's April the 2nd, right?
Yes, sir.
8 a.m. to 3 p.m.
That's the one.
All right. right, and that's where Brooklyn Banquet and Conference Center,
West Columbia, yes, sir.
West Columbia. All right, so now we are at 2025 spending plan budget and actual expenditures.
Good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
I'm good.
You look
It's
good.
Thursday, and it's Thursday, and it's not snowing, so we are in good shape here. As far as the budget, it appears that we're in good shape there as well. As far as spending compared to what the spending plan says. There's nothing surprising here. Our personnel, the items that are our big item, ticket items, personnel, services, contractual services, public assistance, our large ticket items are in good shape. We are spending a little bit ahead of what the budget says, 0.26%, which equates to about $985,000. And I expect that to level out as we get to towards the end of the year. That's the end, that is the status as of the end of January 31st of this year. February is coming up next week. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Mary, we have some background noise. I think it's maybe coming from you. Okay.
Thank you.
Any, Michelle,
Thank you.
you good?
Yep.
Commissioners? You good? Okay. Boy, we down to next regular scheduled meeting, March 20th, 2025 at 10:30 a.m. Everybody got that? Commissioners, all hearts clear? Any questions? Commissioner Thomas, were you about to say something? Okay, if not, I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved. Second?
Second.
Moved. Carried and second?
Great.
Meeting adjourned.